Pittsburgh, North Carolina at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's the Winn-Dixie 300 late model sportsman race in NASCAR. Brought to you by Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions. It's the Sportsman Garage, where even the drivers become mechanics. Last-minute preparations for this Winn-Dixie 300 late model sportsman race. Sportsman drivers going against some of the Grand National veterans this day. Bobby Allison, he was a winner here a year ago at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Mellow Yellow 300. Allison dueling Darrell Waltrip, grinding sheet metal to the finish. It is the number 22 car of Bobby Allison, a winner. This race for the veterans as well as the newcomers. Guys like Brett Bodine, fourth fastest in qualifying for the Winn-Dixie 300. But they'll all be taking on the pole sitter, Tim Richmond in a Pontiac. Richmond says his strategy is very simple.
Yeah, if things are just right, we'll say adios.
Adios. Welcome to... It's a beautiful Carolina day in Charlotte, North Carolina at the mile-and-a-half Charlotte Motor Speedway. Hi, everyone. This is Paul Cameron. We've got the Winn-Dixie 300 late model sportsman race coming your way this afternoon. And with me today, our expert analyst is Steve Wade, the editor of Grand National Scene. Steve, unlike the Grand National teams, the races we see, the Fords dominating, today we've got a lot of Pontiacs in this field, a couple of Pontiacs on the front row.
Paul, we've got Pontiacs, we've got Oldsmobiles, we've got Buicks, we've got Chevrolets, and we've got one solitary Ford belonging to Rodney Howard from Greenville, South Carolina, but it's way back in the field. So today we're going to see a GM-dominated race. We're going to see a race featuring some Grand National drivers, featuring some of the best sportsman drivers in the country, and some sportsman drivers with not a great deal of experience on the super speedways who are taking a shot at it today, some of them for the first time.
One of the great all-time sportsman drivers, Sam Ard, was injured in a crash at Rockingham last fall. He will not be competing today, but Jimmy Hensley will be in his car, but Sam is here at the racetrack.
Yes, he is. He's helping out sportsman regular Charlie Luck. Charlie just moved from Richmond to Greensboro, North Carolina, and Sam will be there helping him out. It's a shame that Sam isn't in the race because he won the fall sportsman race here, but his long recovery period from his injuries has limited him to just one appearance in the sportsman ranks this year, that being at Asheboro, North Carolina, earlier this month.
This is always a great race, Saturday at Charlotte, but unusually so today. We've got a huge crowd, and they'll be coming to their feet looking for these sportsman drivers.
They certainly will. The sportsman race is traditionally one of the better events at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and I think the fans, whom, by the way, are here in droves, I've never seen a crowd quite like this for this race, are really in for a good show.
Huge crowd on a beautiful day. Steve, let's go down to our pit reporters, Bob Heiss and Larry Newber.
These guys, the sportsman regulars, they get tougher every race, don't they?
They sure do. You know, there are a lot of veterans out there. There's some youngsters that got a lot of enthusiasm and ambition. And, you know, it's a good variety of all kinds of interests and talents and all out there. And it usually makes a good race and a very exciting and a fun race.
As a matter of fact, Bobby, historically, the way to be successful in the sportsman ranks is to stay out of trouble. How do you do that?
Well, it's different every race. Sometimes... you know, they're just unavoidable trouble, you know, an engine failure, a cut-down tire, something like that. Sometimes it's a mistake by a driver, and it isn't always an inexperienced one that makes the mistake. So you just, I think you just got to keep watching.
Joe Ruttman, how's that coffee machine running?
Super good, Bob. We're really happy with the sportsman car, and it should be a lot of fun out there, but the car is running extremely good.
I think you're one of the men to be contended with here today.
Well, I would like to think so, but I would say that the way they have the restrictions on these sportsman cars, that there's really a tremendous amount of cars that's evenly matched, and I think from a fan standpoint, that's good, because you're going to see, I wouldn't be surprised to see 10 cars running bumper to bumper for a good length of time.
As the newcomer of all the guys running up front, what are your chances?
Well, being realistic, I've got a lot to learn out here. You know, to start this race, I got to fall in line and try to get the hang of traffic and everything. And about the best way I'm going to have a shot at this race, if we can get it narrowed down to me and maybe a couple guys. If it gets down to me and about 6 other guys or more, I'm going to be in trouble, because I just don't have the experience to run in that group of cars. And, you know, I'm just being honest with myself about it. I got to take it easy out there and learn the draft and learn to respect everybody else out there with me.
What about this size of a racetrack for you? You've not been on this kind of a racetrack that many times. Is it intimidating?
Well, it's not so much intimidating. You got to respect it, I guess, and I do. I know what can happen out here if you should get in trouble, and And that's what I want to stay out of. I want to stay out of a position to get myself in trouble. I just want to run a good, clean race maybe the first half of the race and maybe try to do some racing the second half. If maybe my car isn't working, we can make some adjustments and get it working.
There must be 20 guys that you can look at and say, gee, there may be somebody I have to beat right there. Who are you looking toward? Who do you think you have to beat to be number one?
Tim Richmond, Neil Bonnet, Joe Ruttman, the Grand National drivers. They're the ones you got to beat.
Race officials have given the call for drivers to strap in their cars. Let's go back down to Larry Newber once again.
LD, your best starting position in a long time in one of these races. Optimistic?
Yeah, I think we got a good chance to win this race. You know, we've worked hard and we've always run good at Charlotte. And with a little luck today, I think we're being victor circle.
When the green flag drops, are you at an advantage or disadvantage on the outside of the front row?
Well, not really a disadvantage here, you know. It's the closest way around the bottom. It's a little, well, I guess the pole man's got a little bit of an advantage, you know. And if I can lead the first lap, I will, but I'm not going to take a chance, you know, because I want to finish this race. We're running for the points, but I'm going to run hard. If the car will go up front, I'm going to run all the laps up front.
That's L.D. Ottinger with the racquetball goggles as he's getting ready to go. We've got 200 laps in front of us, 300 miles, and a very rich purse. And Steve Wade, that's Ron Bouchard's car. As you take a look at the temperatures, are just beautiful today for racing, 76 degrees. That's going to help. And Bouchard running a V6 engine today.
One of the new things in racing is the V6. He's got one of two in the field. The other one belongs to Tommy Riggins. He's a little late on the line. Looks like they had to change an engine here this morning. But this is basically an experimental engine. We'll see how things go.
42 cars in the field. Here's your starting grid. Row 1, Tim Richmond and L.D. Ottinger. Row 2, Brett Bodine and Jimmy Hensley. Row 3, Joe Ruttman and Neil Bonnet. Rick Mast and Dale Jarrett on row 4, followed by Brad Teague and Kenny Burks. Michael McLaughlin and Jody Ridley on row 6. Tommy Houston and the veteran defending champ Bobby Allison on row 7. Larry Pearson from Spartanburg, South Carolina on row 8 with Tommy Ellis from Richmond. Ronnie Silver and Joe Kelly on row 9. Sammy Swindell and Larry Pollard. Jack Ingram and Ron Bouchard. Morgan Shepherd and Rusty Wallace, Ken Bouchard and Eddie Falk, Mike Swaim and Charlie Luck, Bosco Lowe and Rick Wilson, Robert Ingram Jr. and Rodney Howard, John Linville and Merv Treichler, Tommy Riggins and Mike Potter, Joe Thurman, Jeff Berry, Mitch Clark, Jeff Hensley, Eddie Barrier and Dickie Boswell on the last row. Green flag coming up. Welcome back to Charlotte Motor Speedway for the start of this Winn-Dixie 300 late model sportsman race. Darrell Waltrip won the fastest race back in 1979. That was an average speed of 131 miles an hour. The slowest was won by Morgan Shepherd of Conover, North Carolina, 115 miles per hour. That was back in 1981. And instantly, the pole setter, Tim Richmond, goes to the front. Steve Wade.
The way things are going, Tim is trying to set that speed record, take it away from Darrell. Looks like he's off to a fine start here. I really didn't expect this, but it looks like now he's got the field covered.
Speaking of Darrell Waltrip, Waltrip is out of his sportsman car. In fact, his buddy, his stablemate from the Grand National Circuit, Neil Bonnet, will be driving the number 15 car today. But L.D. Ottinger and Tim Richmond have set an early pace here.
Yes, they have. They've hooked up very well here and broken away from the rest of the field. L.D. said that he had a car he thought could run up front all day. It looks like he's proving it.
Good shot there. The speeds of these drivers and many of these sportsman regulars, this is a new experience for them going down the backstretch of Charlotte Motor Speedway at speeds of excess of 150.
Certainly is. Most of the drivers in the field today make their living on what they call the bull rings, the short tracks of the southeast. That's the staple of the southern sportsman driver's diet. So this is a new experience for them. We'll see how most of them handle it today.
You see the secondary pack there led by Brett Bodine, the young man who qualified fourth fastest for this race. But again, the identically painted car fielded by Harry Hine, the veteran crew chief, number 15 car of Tim Richmond out in front. And there again is Brett Bodine falling back into the fourth position.
Oh, we got a problem here. Morgan Shepherd, first one out of the race. This is a tough break for Morgan. He's having a hard time this year.
Shepherd has been trying to catch back on a ride in the Grand National Circuit, but he is pretty much a sportsman regular who does very well, and it's sad to see him go out of the race so early.
Certainly is. Morgan's real choice is to be in the Grand National ranks, but as you said, he's having trouble finding a ride. He lost the only ride he had this year with Maurice Petty's Ford team when that team went out of business, and he's been searching ever since with no luck. So he's making his living basically now on the sportsman ranks.
An unscheduled pit stop early on for the car number 78. That is Mike Potter from the Atlas Paving Oldsmobile.
Don't know what the problem is there, but Mike really didn't figure to be a factor in this race.
Not 5 laps in. It's a shame to see anybody have to go out of the race.
True. Well, they're coming by pretty good here at speed again. I like this effect. This is really nice.
That's a beautiful shot. Look at the stands. Boy, we got a beautiful day for racing, and they are out in droves, as you said earlier. Tim Richmond out in the backstretch. Richmond and L.D. Ottinger on lap number 6.
What you've got here is a Grand National regular being challenged by a sportsman regular. This is the kind of racing I think a lot of people hope to see here today.
I think you just saw L.D. a little loose out in turn 4. Now, turn 4 has been a trouble spot for a couple of years at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Ever since they put an asphalt sealer out there, it has been slick. It has never quite cured up in turn 4.
No, they had an asphalt sealer in turns 3 and 4 to started this week, which has been burnt off and hopefully would make track conditions better. Judging from what happened to LD there, I don't know if that's the track or his car, but they're still going to have a problem there today.
Battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th right there. You see Neil Bonnet in car 17, Joe Ruttman in car 7. That ought to be a good battle. But Tim Richmond has really opened the lead on LD.
Well, he's not letting anybody battle him for the time being. He is really putting a hurting on the field. But remember, this is early. There's a long way to go, and things can change quickly in any race.
Got 200 laps and only 7 gone so far. Well, we've got an unscheduled pit stop coming in. That is Ron Bouchard, a veteran of the Grand National Tour. Ron, a winner at Talladega not too many years ago, but he's got the hood going up. That's bad problems.
Bad problems for the V6 engine, evidently, from the way things look.
Oh, trouble out in turn 4, spinning across the infield. Car 7, Joe Ruttman. Ruttman digging up and plowing that infield a little bit. And behind him, more smoke and trouble. Car 58, Merv Treichler.
Both of them seem to have a problem in the same place. I'm kind of wondering if there's oil in the track over there or something.
Perhaps Bouchard laid it down.
It's entirely
Well,
possible.
we got our first caution flag out for the day, and we've got more of the Winn-Dixie 300 coming your way after this. We're back at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Winn-Dixie 300. 13 laps gone, 200 to run today. No lead changes. One caution flag involving the wreck involving Merv Treichler and also Joe Ruttman. Their crews have got a little work to do on their cars. There's a green flag. Tim Richmond jumps to the lead, and Richmond's Pontiac is breaking out again, Steve.
Character of the race so far, absolutely no changes whatsoever as far as the lead is concerned.
And in second place, L.D. Ottinger in chase.
And that looks like Brad T coming alongside LD there.
Oh, what a move. T coming down the backstretch to the inside.
Great move by Brad T coming in and out of that the second turn over there and heading into number 3.
And back at the start-finish line, there's a black flag out. Now, who's this for?
I'm not sure. I wonder if it could be Jody Ridley. I believe it's Jody Ridley for jumping the start.
Looked like Jody may have jumped the start a little bit. Neil Bonnet in the number 17 car, now currently in 3rd place. Brad Teague in 2nd place. All the way back in 5th is the number 5 car of Brett Bodine. But it's the number 15 Pontiac of Tim Richmond, who looks like he's blowing the doors and may have them covered.
Looks like he's got it so far, but that's an interesting battle back there for 2nd place. It's Brad Teague, the regular sportsman driver, Neil Bonnet, the Grand National regular, going at it. I like that.
All right, we've seen some trouble in turn 4. There it is, and there is a black flag out. That's, a little squirrel right there by Brett Bodine. You saw the tire smoke in turn 4, and that's what can happen when you're not used to running these speeds.
That's right. He said he had some things to learn. Well, he learned one thing right there, how to get it back under control when you get in a little problem on a super speedway. It's a good job.
Did a great job. In fact, the fans out there in turn 4 came to their feet applauding his efforts to keep it right.
Put on a good show for him over there.
This sportsman race, always a great one, and you're seeing why right now. But Tim Richmond has an uncharacteristic large lead at this point in the race. What is it about that Pontiac?
Well, that is a sportsman car geared to perfection by Robert G. of Harrisburg. His shop's, a matter of fact, right across the street. Whoa, we've got another car out of control.
Out of control. Number 70, Bosco Low, is broken loose. Now he's in the infield.
Seems to have it under control here. Yep, looks like things are in pretty good shape. He's headed back out onto the track.
Well, I don't know if that's so wise. Better slow things down.
Whoa, we had a little bobble there.
Look out! Ooh. Robert Ingram Jr. has and he's on fire. It's Bosco Low on fire coming across the track.
He's doing the right thing. He's got to get that car off the track. He's got to get out of the car immediately.
Oh, my.
Looks like he's doing all right. Looks like he's all right, Paul. He's coming right out of the car in a hurry. There he goes.
Flames are licking up at his legs.
Ooh. Oh, look at that.
That is a scary sight.
That is the worst sight at a speedway. Anyone will tell you that. A driver, a mechanic, a fan, the media, that is awful. This is terrible.
And it hasn't stopped.
No. And
fire crews have gotten the dry chemical on the car, but it has not stopped.
It doesn't seem to want to go out. They're putting everything on it, but look, you can see the flames out the backside, now on the top. They're just having a heck of a time trying to put that out.
Robert Ingram Jr., the car you see who rear-ended Bosco Lowe. Lowe spinning through the grass. Let's look at it again. Yeah, I think we've got a good shot of Lowe breaking loose out in turn 4, and that has been the trouble spot. Well, he's trying to fight it, and then all of a sudden it is gone, and not much you can do at that point, Steve.
He was lucky that he did not take a couple of cars out with him right there, but as you can see, he's sideways through the grass. It's very difficult to drive on that grass, they'll tell you that. And it looks like he's got it pointed straight and things are under control. As a matter of fact, looks like he's just trying to head back on the low groove, maybe down on the apron, and then continue around the track. But here's where I think the problem, he hit that asphalt and bobbled and shot right up into the path of Robert Ingram Jr. I don't know that there was a whole lot that Robert Ingram could do about that.
Oh, no, he must have, he probably saw that coming from a long way. But once those wheels hooked up on the asphalt, that car just went completely out of it. And there's the fireball. And fans, I got to tell you, that car is still burning.
Had to be a ruptured fuel cell. That's the only thing I can think of that would create a flame like that.
Bosco Lowe looks unhurt. Let's go down to the pits and check in with Bob Heiss.
There seemed to be some controversy afterwards.
Well, what happened was he was in the grass in the infield and stopped and tried to come back out in the race, in the race territory. And we're just told so many times you don't do that on a speedway, and that's why, because those, like I said, your tires are spinning, you hardly know where your steering wheel is, and when you hit the track, you normally lose it. So I couldn't go. I saw what was going to happen. I tried to go high. He came high, I tried to go low, he came low, and I knew at that point, at 160 mile an hour, you don't have about 2 chances, and that's it.
Well, you look like you're in good health, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
It is amazing that both those drivers walk away from that wreck unhurt. 10-minute Richmond's the leader. The yellow flag is out for the second time today, and we've got more from the Winn-Dixie 300 coming your way after this. Winn-Dixie 300 still under caution. In fact, it's been under caution for 25 laps as work crews try to put out the fire and get the wreckage off the race course. How do these drivers get back in cars after major wrecks? We find out more from Bob Heiss.
We'll get out of shape.
Spin-outs, crashes, multiple car wrecks, rollovers, and massive flips are a natural element of stock car racing. The end result means mangled, crumpled cars and occasionally injuries or even death to the drivers involved. 1983, Cale Yarborough attempts another 200-mile-per-hour qualifying lap at Daytona.
The day of the Daytona wreck, I had to run the Busch Clash a couple hours later, so it's just something you have to block out of your mind. Don't think about it, and you got a job to do, and you have to do it.
The most violent wrecks occur on the ultra-fast super speedways. Phil Parsons had a wild tumble on the Talladega track.
It was pretty painful the times it came down. It's not too bad when it's up in the air flipping around, but when the car comes down, that's pretty painful. And each time it came down on the racetrack, it hurt pretty bad. So I was just hoping to get through it.
And in '84, Ricky Rudd's car fell apart as it went through sickening flips at Daytona.
The thing that helped me a lot probably in that wreck is that I blacked out the first time I crashed, first time I hit on the first flip. Didn't remember a whole lot of that violent flipping and spinning around in the air, so that probably helped me a little bit as far as not having to worry about getting back in the car again.
But why do these and other drivers, often suffering pain, come right back and get under that steering wheel to face the same dangers again?
And anybody that's been in this game has been in some bad crashes at one time or other. But it's just something you have to block out of your mind. You can't let it get to you. If you let it get to you, you might as well quit. So I just try not to ever think about it again and go on down the road.
I think it probably has a lot to do with the money. I think that, now, really, all kidding aside, I really don't know. Like I say, I think it's just a part of growing up with it. And you have a lot of people that depend on you. And a lot of time you don't have the chance to really take time to heal all your wounds like you'd like to. And so you just sort of make out the best you can. And NASCAR stresses safety first. There's a lot of other forms of racing that speed comes first. And if anything, when you go through a couple of wrecks like I've been through, especially the one at Daytona, it really makes you appreciate the sport, NASCAR safety program, and the cars that we race.
We're back to action for the Winn-Dixie 300, and looks like we'll have a green flag this time around. Paul Cameron, along with Steve Way, the editor of Grand National Scene magazine, bring you today's action. Tim Richmond on the pole, and we had 25 laps under yellow trying to get the wreckage off the racetrack. Of course, that was the car of Bosco Lowe that you saw at Fireball down there in turn 1.
Another reason the extensive pit stop was because the crews had to refill the fire extinguishers. They used just about every bit they had putting out that fire.
And Tim Richmond continues where he left off, circling the field, lapping some of the slower cars. It's Richmond and Brad Teague in second place. Neil Bonnet fighting for third.
This is really a good run at this point in time for Brad Teague. He was second at the Sportsman race in Darlington, and he's never won a Super Speedway Sportsman race. It's good to see him challenging like this.
We've got 6 cars out of the race so far, 4 with mechanical failure. 2, of course, you saw involved in that crash, Bosco Lowe and Robert Ingram Jr.
2 of those cars belong to Brad. We got the black flag out here, Paul.
That's Joe Ruttman coming in the pits for consultation. Looked like Joe, who was down a lap after the spin, may have tried to jump the restart flag.
That's exactly what he did. They bring him in for what they call consultation, hold him there, and he's back out at the end of the field.
So the lap that he tried to make up is now lost again.
Exactly.
Tim Richmond back in the lead. Brad Teague second. Neil Bonnet running third. We've got a pit report from Bob Heiss.
I got Chris Barrier, the crew chief with the number 7 Folgers coffee machine, and Joe Ruttman. Chris, what was the black flag for on that restart?
We lost about 5 laps under the caution changing a bad fuel pump, and we thought we could go to the front on the inside of the lead cars like usual, like lap cars do, to try and get our laps back, but NASCAR said that the lapping on the racetrack hadn't started yet, so they black flagged us. In other words, put us back where we belong, I guess.
How about the fuel pump situation? Is it okay now?
It's cured. That was a brand new fuel pump on the car this morning, and I guess we just got a hold of a bad one. We put another one on, and it cured the problem.
So the official scoring now showing Joe Ruttman 5 laps down. Brad Teague in the chase for second place, and he fends off Neil Bonnet there in turn 2.
Looks like Brad Teague and Neil Bonnet are keeping a pretty good pace with Tim Richmond at this point in time. Tim's not pulling away like he was earlier in the race.
Could he be trying to rest the motor a little bit?
That's possible, but I would think right now, given Tim's driving style, he would probably just as soon stay out front as strong as possible as he could. I have to think Teague and Bonnet are just running a better race right now.
Now, this is only a 300-mile race. What's the strategy, you think, for conservation of fuel? Will they try to draft like the Grand National drivers?
Well, I'm certain they will. That's part of the game out here, if they can. If you note right here, there's not a lot of close drafting really going on. So if it's possible, they will do it as much as possible.
All right, now we've got to hook up 1 and 2. That's Tim Richmond and Brad Teague, and they're pulling away from Neil Bonnet.
That's good. You've got a Sportsman regular and Brad Teague going against the Grand National regular and Tim Richmond. You can't stress that too much in a race like this.
Back and forth, Brett Bodine, Bobby Allison in 5th. Good battle there. But look ahead. Look at this. Brad Teague has pulled out and gone for the inside in turn 1 against Richmond. Richmond goes wide.
That's the line where he wants to be. The inside of the turn is the shortest way around the track. Brad Teague has it right now.
And what a battle. Wheel to wheel. Richmond seems to get a nose out in front.
And I don't know if Bonnet's going to get in this or not. It's going to be interesting going into the 3rd turn. Let's see what happens here.
All right, Bonnet trying to help Teague, and I think maybe the draft there has helped Teague with the slingshot out in turn 3.
No question about it. Gave him a little edge he needed, and he's moved right ahead of Tim Richmond right now.
We're coming up to the 47th lap complete, and Brad Teague has taken the lead. Tim Richmond in 2nd, Neil Bonnet in 3rd. And look at Teague fighting the wheel there against Richmond.
Richmond's coming right back on the inside, and he's challenging for the lead one more time. But I tell you what, Tim is of the attitude that he's just not going to give up that lead he's had all day.
But look at the motor in Teague's car on the backstretch.
That's when he can do that on the outside. It shows good horsepower.
Oh, look at Teague. My goodness, what a move there.
I would have never expected that in that position that he was in. That shows some power.
And the crowd, over 100,000, come to their feet. They really appreciate this kind of racing.
That's what this sportsman racing is all about. Traditionally at Charlotte, it's been this way.
All right, Brad Teague, 75 car. Now he's got Richmond. Richmond diving for the inside.
Well, he's not quite close enough this time. Looks like Brad has got a little bit of edge.
Well, now we've got the black flag out for Jody Ridley in Dale Earnhardt's car, number 8.
Looks like, I don't know what the problem is here. They brought him in for a brief consultation, and they've sent him right back out onto the track.
NASCAR now reports that Ridley is being held back a lap because he jumped the start, just like we saw Joe Ruttman do a few minutes ago, but it took him quite a while to come in for that consultation.
Took his time about it.
Back on the racetrack, Brad Teague showing some muscle in his Pontiac. Tim Richmond 2nd, Neil Bonnet in 3rd.
Rick Mast is in 4th place. He's another sportsman regular, and he's doing a fine job. I don't believe I've seen Rick perform quite this well on a super speedway. Good job for him.
And Brad Teague keeps it on the high groove coming out of turn 2 and into the back chute. There's a shot looking down the backstretch, and Richmond trailing Brad Teague. But behind, look at the ground that L.D. Ottinger is seeming to make up. He is chasing down right now the number 03 car of Mike McLaughlin.
LD was in the back of the pack after that caution flag. He's trying to make his way back up to the front. And remember we talked earlier about the horsepower he had. It looks like he's showing it right here.
A year ago, L.D. Ottinger came to this track and won the pole for the race. And right now, again, he's making up distance. You can see him snugly on the tail of McLaughlin.
It won't be long, I don't think, before he's around him and back up there challenging for the lead. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Looks like McLaughlin's pulling ahead a little bit here, but I don't see this lasting very long. I think that LD is going to have the edge.
That line through the back straight, you can see him go high. And now here comes the move right here by LD. He shoots to the inside, going to turn 3. Can he hold it in 3?
Well, I would think so if he gets clear. Yes, he's clear right now before he goes into the 4th turn. That's basically what you want. Get by the man in 3, be ahead of him in 4.
Hey, there's Sam Ard, the veteran sportsman driver we talked about. He was injured in Rockingham. Today he is helping out the Charlie Luck team.
Charlie Luck's team, as I said earlier, had moved to Greensboro and is looking for good things in sportsman racing. They're going to get some good help out of Sam Ard, I have no doubt.
Brad Teague and Tim Richmond passing Jody Ridley, and look at the shoot in turn 3 as Brad Teague has really got some muscle out there, and it seems to also have the handle. But whoops, a little bobble there in turn 4.
That'll cost him. Tim's right on his bumper right now. I'm kind of wondering if that didn't affect Brad's handling a little bit. Yep.
Richmond going low, diving low, turn 1. Richmond side by side with Teague, but Teague has got muscle again.
Again on the outside. That's the second time we've seen him do that and pull ahead of Tim.
That's kind of unusual, isn't it, Steve, on this track to stay high like that out of turn 2?
I would think so. I've seen it in some races before, but it's not a normal occurrence. It shows the car can handle high and has the power high.
All right, you've got Neil Bonnett in car 17 battling the number 44 car.
Rick Bass from Rockbridge, Bath, Virginia. What a name for a town, huh?
But Bonnett going against a sportsman driver. That's always a good hookup.
That is. And Rick Bass, as I said earlier, is doing a fine job. He bought his first car several years ago, and he sold a cow.
Meanwhile, back in the lead, Brad Teague holding off Richmond. And, you know, each time these drivers go around turn 1 where they saw that fiery crash of Bosco Law, they've got to think about that.
I have no doubt they won't forget it, especially when they see just that tad of residue from the chemicals left on the track. It's a constant reminder.
It'll be a reminder for a long time, the way that wall got singed out there, and you'll see it on this sweep. And the inside at turn 1 is just blackened the white spot of the Charlotte wall. Right there, you saw it.
And there's the residue from the chemicals, if you noticed it, the white part at the bottom of the track.
Still got Brad Teague leading Tim Richmond. A pair of Pontiacs out there, and right now Richmond looks content to just run in 2nd place.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to tax himself at this point in time, and he's going to let Brad go out there and run his tires a little bit harder this time around.
Brad Teague passing slower traffic. Oh, a little sideways in turn 4, and you see the tire smoke again.
That's the second time we've seen that in a very short period of time. I have to wonder if there's something there in the track itself or something with the handling of Brad's car that's causing that.
Bobby Allison chasing Brett Bodine. Allison, a veteran of the NASCAR Tour. Also, he likes the short tracks. Here's Bob Heiss.
It was 30 years ago, 1955, when Bobby Allison began his racing career in the Miami area at Hialeah Racetrack. He was a senior in high school.
And the cars were so very stock that I drove my school car out to the track, took the headlights out, took the muffler off, and raced it, and drove it back home. The only safety requirement that we had at all, besides a seat belt, was to strap the left door shut. And so I would simply use my belt off my trousers to go around the doorpost and roll the windows down, took the muffler off, took the headlights out, and raced away. But I can remember I turned that thing over the first time and was hanging there upside down by the seat belt, wondering what I'd do next. And of course, when I released the seat belt, I fell right on my head.
Since then, and many, many races later, Bobby has achieved so much success on the tracks that his lifestyle is financially comfortable. Enough so that besides his home in Hueytown, Alabama, Bobby and his wife, Judy, have purchased a first-turn condominium overlooking the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
When they announced they were building these condominiums here, it excited me because this is the complete other end of our picture, I think. You know, this is top of the line at the arena. And when they announced it, I said, I'll take one. But at any rate, as we saw it come together, it really became the show place and maybe the personal reward of racing that's directly related to racing, but still a little bit different.
Bobby's lifestyle also includes an avid interest in aviation. He owns and flies a Piper Aerostar, and it's a good thing he does, because that's how he's able to maintain his distinction as the busiest driver in the world, keeping a hectic weekly schedule of short track races, as well as his obligations to the Grand National Circuit.
Over the years, I used the short track racing to pay my bills. You know, I went to a Hickory or a Columbia, South Carolina, or some short track, Birmingham or Montgomery or wherever, to make enough money on a Friday and Saturday night to pay my bills at a track like Charlotte or Darlington or Rockingham or wherever on a Sunday. But then I'm in the situation, too, where I'm sitting there at my desk or I'm working there in the shop and the phone rings, and it's someone who 10 years ago or 15 years ago helped me pay my expenses and say, Bobby, we need you to come help us promote our event. And so I end up adding another event here and another event there.
When you come right down to it, racing is Bobby's lifestyle, and it will be for a long time to come.
I think that no matter which way it swings, that I'll be around. When the green flag goes down, I'm going to be at the event around racing.
Back to action at the Winn-Dixie 300. Brad Teague leading Tim Richmond. You know, Steve Wade, at the 50-lap mark, this race slowed way down the pace. Average speed, 96.8 miles per hour. That's because of two cautions, one lasting 25 laps.
Well, that'll do it every time.
Oh, there's trouble out of turn 4 again. Two cars spinning in the infield.
That's Mitch Clark and Eddie Falk having problems in the same place we've seen the earlier wrecks today. Looks like both of them have got it under control and once again plowing up the infield and just...
and you know, Steve, I'm looking at the flagman, and the yellow flag has not come out on this.
May not. They're off the track, and they seem to be under control and out of the way, so it's a possibility they'll let the cars run at speed.
There's Bobby Allison, car 22, Miller American Buick.
Jack Ingram right behind him, the Iron Man from Asheville, North Carolina, has run everywhere they run sportsman races over the last 2 decades.
And L.D. Ottinger in chase, so that threesome trailing right now behind the cars of Brad Teague and Tim Richmond. 62 laps complete here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Bobby Allison on the back straight.
Looks like Ingram's trying to get around him on the inside there, but Bobby's having none of it.
Allison fends him off.
And LD is still sitting in the back there just holding on. It looks like he's probably just waiting his time right now to see when he can make his best move.
L.D. Ottinger currently in 6th place. Jack Ingram in 5th. Bobby Allison in 4th. Brett Bodine in 3rd place. And you see the lead cars, Brad Teague and Tim Richmond. So Richmond and Bodine are nose to tail with each other. A little bit of a distance on the track, but you'll see the same colors on both cars as they are being sponsored in this race by Levi Garrett.
I'm sure that's making Robert G., the man who built those cars, very happy.
And Mitch Clark from Charlotte, North Carolina, local driver, looks like he's going to have to retire, at least get that front end back in line after the spin coming through the infield. Richmond and Teague. Richmond trying to gun down Teague right now. And there's a move. He looks inside.
And then he went on the outside also, but looks like he's content now just to fall back there and let Brad lead a little bit more.
Well, Brad Teague, this is kind of a surprise. I don't think we thought that Teague would be showing so much strength early on in this race.
No, and I don't think a lot of people did, but I have to mention that, again, at the Arlington where he ran so well and finished in 2nd place, it was a bit of a surprise there, and he's doing it again here. Maybe before too long, this won't be surprising at all to see him up there.
We got to watch this battle because Richmond on the first time looked outside. That time out of turn 2 looked inside. We'll see what happens. But first, let's go down to the pits and check in with Bob Heiss.
Charlie Presley, his crew chief, is here with me. Charlie, Brad's running awfully good. Can you keep him up in front all day?
Well, that's the way we got it planned.
You worked up to the front very quickly. Was that the strategy, too, that you feel like you had the strength and the power?
We felt like we had the strength and power to go to the front. We was just going to pick our time and get there slowly, but, you know, the rest of the guys missed it, and we was on, so we decided to take advantage of it while we could.
Everything running smooth right now.
Right.
Good. Thank you.
So Brad Teague's got the strength and power to stay in the front, but can he fend off Richmond?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Incidentally, Charlie Presley is the son of veteran sportsman great Bob Presley, and they say that Charlie picked up a wrench when he was you know, old enough to crawl, has done a fine job underneath the hood of these cars, and obviously we're seeing it today.
Charlotte Motor Speedway, 1.5-mile tri-oval here. A real experience for some of the non-experienced drivers from the Sportsman Tour. That's Brett Bodine and Bobby Allison gunning him down.
Well, it's got to be an experience for him. You're just talking about a real experience for some of them. Here's Brett Bodine on a super speedway leading Bobby Allison. Quite a thrill for the young man, I would think.
And Brett takes quite a low line coming out of turn 4. We saw him earlier break loose there, but that time he's got the handle.
He sure does, and he's doing a fine job at this particular point in time.
Jack Ingram behind Allison in the green car, number 11. Allison in car number 22, and Brett Bodine. That's leading the pack for 3rd, 4th, and 5th places.
Brett Bodine has already won a sportsman race this year up in Martinsville when he drove his brother Jeff's car in the race up there. Jeff had to be at Bristol for a Grand National race and turned the wheel over to Brett, and he won it. That's storybook stuff, but that's exactly the way it happened.
Well, that's the way a lot of these drivers get their starts. Somebody needs a driver at the last minute, and they come through and show them stuff, and the crowd gets behind them. And look at Richmond. Richmond coming up on the bumper. Oh, my! Turn 4. Big trouble this time. We've got 4 cars. 6 cars out of control. It's spinning. Ooh. Look, Charlie Luck's car. Oh. Charlie gets almost T-boned in the quarter panel, but my goodness, can the traffic get around this?
It looks like it can. That's Joe Kelly up against the wall right there, and there's Sammy Swindell and Charlie Luck. Charlie took a terrible whack right there. He had the car sideways when he hit Sammy, obviously trying to slow down the impact.
And the leaders are heading to the pits. Brad Teague streaming in around the wreckage as Tim Richmond follows quickly. Let's keep a watch and see exactly how quick these pit stops are.
Okay, they're going to work on the right side of the car right here. Now, they're not going to be very quick. There is only 1 air wrench allowed on super speedway sportsman racing. That's to cut down on the cost of using so many tires. Sportsman racing was in danger of becoming prohibitively expensive. So this was one of the rules that was instigated.
Right side rubber on the Bobby Allison machine, right side on Tim Richmond's, right side on Brad Teague. There's and look, Richmond is beating Teague out of the pits.
And that'll put him in the advantage when the green flag comes out again.
Okay, Tim Richmond gets a quicker stops, quicker service than Brad Teague's, and maybe the Grand National experience of Harry Hyde's crew chief, that crew in the pits has helped out.
Exactly. That's one thing that should not be overlooked, that the Grand National crews do have that experience.
Well, we've got more to come from Charlotte Motor Speedway. The Winn-Dixie 300 coming your way after these messages. Complete. We're still under yellow, the 3rd caution of the day, and let's take a look at the wreck we just saw.
Okay, I think the wreck starts here when Joe Kelly and Sammy Swindell get together up there in the 4th turn. That's right. And you can see right here, they literally block the track. And there's very, very little space for anybody to get by, and Charlie Luck throws it into a slide to lessen the impact of that car. He sees it coming. There's no way he can avoid it. And that's exactly how they spread it out right there.
And he really got T-boned in the quarter panel, no fault of his own. So Sammy Swindell, Rick Mast, Jeff Hensley, and Eddie Falk all involved in that crash. As you see, the race speed has been slowed to 106 miles an hour. We have now 80 laps complete of the 200 scheduled to run in this Winn-Dixie 300 race. And Larry Newber has a report for us.
You know, both of the incidents that we have seen that have caused caution flags have begun in turn number 4, right down there. Well, they did some resurfacing of the racetrack, including laying down some sealer. And as late as last night, they were actually burning off that sealer because the drivers were complaining it was too slippery. Well, some of the drivers are saying today that about in that area of the racetrack, it's slick again. So that's something to watch for during the rest of this race.
Slick out in turn 4, and Sammy Swindell has been retired. He's the 12th retiree of this race. Tim Richmond in the lead with the yellow flag out. Richmond got that quick pit service. He's leading Rick Mast and Neil Bonnet. Larry Newber has more from the pits.
Well, this is one of the guys working for Neil Bonnet today. What'd you say your name was?
My name is Junior Waltrip.
Well, this obviously is Darrell Waltrip. What do you hear on the radio or during that pit stop from Neil? How's it going?
It's going good. The car was a little loose, typical Waltrip car, just a little loose. We changed the stagger and put him in some bite, and we should see a little bit better performance now. he's doing a great job with the car. He just was driving it where he was comfortable, and he's fun to work with.
How's the view from down here watching your race car speed around the speedway?
Well, I've been up on the truck spotting, and I knew it was about time for a stop, so I wanted to come down and just see what the boys were going to do, be sure we all understood what we needed to get done here with the wedge and the stagger. And now I'm going back to the eye in the sky.
Well, that's Darrell Waltrip, but that's not just idle chatter. He is very much involved in the setup of every one of the race cars that he drives.
Steve Wade, Darrell talked about changing the stagger. That's the tires.
Right, exactly what it is. It's the circumference of the tires. They're matched up on either side, the proper circumference tire on each side of the car to give it the best handling capabilities. If it's mixed up, the handling is that much ill-effective.
So sometimes a little larger outside, sometimes a little less larger on the inside.
Exactly.
Restart again, and as he's done on every restart, Tim Richmond jumps to the lead. Now, you see the number 7 car, Joe Ruttman. He is several laps back at this point, even though he is running behind Richmond.
Right at this point in time, Rick Mast, who's behind Ruttman, is the second-place runner, but he's losing ground to Richmond, who makes his usual fast start.
And Brad Teague is having to work his way back up through the slower traffic after that somewhat slower pit stop.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what Brad does here as far as the results of the handling of his car after the pit stop. They got the proper tires and things of that nature. I'd like to see if he can work his way up through the pack.
Now, you saw a little what appeared to be smoke out in turn 4. That's not smoke. That's the Speedy Dry, the dusty chemical that they put down on the track to try to absorb some of the oil as from you saw the accident.
Exactly.
Well, we've got a pack of slower traffic, and Neil Bonnet is also trying to get through there.
He's running up on Brad Teague right now. I think that he's in a position to make a pass, I would say, if he wants to. He's got to be able to work his way to the inside, the best place to pass. But right now, it looks like it's all he can do to stay up with Brad there.
Yeah, Brad Teague leading Neil Bonnet. Still in the lead, Tim Richmond.
Way in the lead, I might add.
But this is a nice little fight going on between these two drivers.
Good battle here for third place behind Rick Mast, but Brad Teague still has that horsepower edge. It appears to be the horsepower edge that he has right here. He had it earlier on Tim Richmond.
We also heard Darrell Waltrip talk about the wedge that they cranked in the machine, the number 17 machine of Neil Bonnet. That's a little more bite on one side to try to give the car a little bit less push, perhaps.
Exactly, stiffen it up a little bit. And it looks like it might have helped it somewhat, but so far Brad is still able to hold him off.
And look at Joe Ruttman, who is laps down, running right with Tim Richmond. All of a sudden, he's got the right chassis combination.
Sadly, it's a little bit too late at this point in time, but it looks like if he could have found it earlier, I'm sure he would have loved it.
Well, if he can make back a lap and a caution flag come out, he might just very well be back in the running.
Could be.
Tim Richmond at Charlotte Motor Speedway, opening things up in turn 4.
Really dominating. I can think of no better situation for a driver. This has got to be paradise for any driver in any sort of race when he has the kind of car that can jump out front like this and stay out there. When you're in that position, really the only thing you're fighting is yourself or some problems with the car that may crop up. But otherwise, perfect day. You couldn't ask for anything better.
Well, he's not really fighting Ruttman. In fact, Ruttman is almost a shield between Richmond and the rest of the field right now. There's Brad Teague, who's got a slight advantage now over Neil Bonnet.
It's a little bit larger than it was before, so I'd say the combination for Brad right now is still good, still very good.
Tim Richmond driving a little bit lighter car than he's used to, the Grand National 3,700-pound machines, but these sportsmen are quite a bit lighter than that.
Yes, they weigh 3,350 pounds, and they're powered by 311 cubic inch engines. So they're lighter, and they have smaller engines, and they produce slower speeds, but a lot of people say this combination produces better competition. And in fact, we may see the Grand Nationals go in this direction in the near future.
Maybe more equal competition across the board, more cars willing and able to be in the lead lap.
Exactly. I think you're seeing it with the many models of cars that are here. We said at the top of the show there was only one Ford in the field, but look at the varying General Motors products that are here. You see that to a certain degree in Grand National racing, but not as prevalent as it is here.
You know, Steve Wade, you made the point earlier about the V6 motor. There were only 2 in the field today, but they're more economical on fuel.
Sportsman cars, as a rule, are. They get about 110 miles to a tank here.
Well, Tim Richmond's in the lead. Let's check in with his crew chief, Harry Hyde, and here's Bob Heiss.
I'm in the pit of the leader currently, and that is Tim Richmond in car number 15. Harry Hyde is crew chief. Harry, he seems to be running awfully smooth right now.
We're looking real good right now, and
we're particularly interested in holding it for 10 more laps, getting that $3,000 for leading out 100 laps. That's going to be important to Robert G., and I'm going to try to coach him in there if I can.
You dropped back behind Brad Teague there for a little while. There wasn't any problem, was there?
No, the car was getting pretty loose, and after we made that pit stop, we tightened him up a little bit, and he seems to be doing real good now.
Okay, Harry, thanks a lot.
Okay.
So the leader at the halfway point, the 100-lap mark, will get a bonus of $3,000. And Tim Richmond, will he need the coaching to get into first place?
Absolutely not. I'm sure he's aware of it and keep his right foot planted right where it is. You don't need to tell him that.
Well, we're looking at the identically prepared number 5 machine, the Pontiac of Brett Bodine, who is fending off L.D. Ottinger. No room to get around.
No, and he's in some fast company. That's Jack Ingram right there in front of him. He's got Ingram in front and Ottinger in back, and young Mr. Bodine has found himself in some experienced company.
Well, if he keeps a sharp eye on the line that Jack Ingram drives, he'll know his way around this 1.5-mile tri-oval.
I'm sure that's crossed his mind.
We've got Neil Bonnet fighting right now with Brad Teague. They are currently running for 3rd and 4th place. Joe Ruttman is there, but Ruttman, as we said, is several laps back.
Teague has come on through the pack since the caution flag to earn this position, so it looks like he's got his form back. Look at that pack right there. You've got a good, solid, tight pack of cars right there. Unfortunately, they're all running for 3rd place at this point in time.
Jack Ingram currently shown in the number 5 position. He's in the green number 11 car. Ingram, Brett Bodine, and behind Bodine, there's L.D. Ottinger. So quite a pack, but they are so far behind Tim Richmond, the leader at this point.
That's the character of the race so far. It's been that way for the majority of this event, and if it were just a little bit tighter for 1st and 2nd place, I'm sure we'd have a terrific show, and it could be that way. Remember, we've got over halfway to go.
Steve, we're coming up on that halfway point. Tim Richmond, what a lead he has. Now, you see Eddie Falk trailing, but Richmond just going through lap traffic, and Richmond wants that money.
And he is gone from the rest of the field at this particular point in time.
Tim Richmond leading Rick Mast. Mast in 2nd place. In 3rd right now is Brad Teague. Teague has been passed by Bonnet. Bonnet in 3rd place.
Wade Teague has a problem. He is slowed way down. He is gone from that pack completely right now. He's got a definite problem, Paul.
Off the pace, Brad Teague. Jack Ingram running 4th position.
Oh, he has to have a faulty engine or something of that nature. He's just not even in the race anymore.
Okay, so no competition. Brad Teague is falling away. He's blown his motor. Trying to get back into the lead, and that is a shame, as Brad Teague has got to go to the garage and call it a day.
Very much a shame, particularly as strong as he was running in the early going of this race. I know he's disappointed.
So Tim Richmond, a runaway winner at a halfway point of this race, picks up the $3,000 bonus money.
I have to wonder if there's anybody left who can challenge him.
Look at that distance. He now has got about a football field, about 100 yards between he and 2nd place. Currently Neil Bonnet in 2nd.
And you've got Jack Ingram now in 3rd place, and I believe, yes, that's Brett Bodine and L.G. Ottinger following him.
The attrition rate, as you see it, Morgan Shepherd, the first car out. Many have followed his path today. Half our race is gone, 100 laps. We've had 3 lead changes, 3 caution flags, and the race has been slowed to 113-mile-an-hour average.
And so far, it's been Tim Richmond and a cast of thousands, Paul.
Yeah, Tim Richmond, and drop your voice, because it's been Tim Richmond, the dominant machine, as Brad Teague has given him some chase, but Teague is on the sidelines now with motor problems. And look, it's L.D. Ottinger now chasing Jeff Bodine, Bodine chasing Jack Ingram.
L.D. has come up through the field, and now he's got the inside line right there. It looks like he's going to be able to get around Brett. Whoa.
Oh, very close.
He made it, though. He's around him right where he wants to be.
Well, Brett did the smart thing. I think he yielded to the machine taking the low side.
Oh, yeah. You don't, at this stage of the race, you don't want to take any chances when someone's making a pass like that.
And, Steve Wade, look at the difference between 1st and 2nd place. Tim Richmond absolutely dominating this race.
I would have never predicted this in the sportsman race here today.
Larry Newber's in the pits.
Oh, Brad Teague has been very fast this year, and you were very fast today, Brad. This is a tough way to go out.
Yeah, it's a tough way to go out. I hate it all bad. My car was running real good, and I went down the back stretch, and it felt like the motor was going to tighten up, and I just cut the switch off. It's down on oil pressure, but I think we had about the best car today.
Yeah, Brad, you know, it might have looked like you had him covered. You kind of feel that way, eh?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had them covered. I tried to get around Richmond there for the halfway mark, and I had a slick spot up in the third and fourth turn. It paid $3,000 extra there in halfway mark, but I couldn't run him down. I was trying it, but I couldn't.
The $3,000 extra is a lot of money to the Sportsman drivers. That'll keep them going for quite a while.
A big bonus for the Sportsman drivers.
It's always nice to see Charlotte Motor Speedway. Each year, they come up with some plan to help out the less fortunate drivers, the guys who need the extra cash.
They adopted that policy when it became obvious over the years that Grand National drivers were absolutely dominating the sportsman events. So the key was give the sportsman drivers something in the form of a reward to do well, to run hard, to spend some money, and try to take the lead and be as competitive as possible. It's worked so far.
And there's Bobby Allison in car 22. He is trailing the car 32 car of Dale Jarrett from Hickory, North Carolina. Jarrett, the son of former Grand National champion Ned Jarrett.
And is coming into his own in sportsman racing right now. This is, I would say, from what I've been able to judge, is probably one of his better overall years, and he's very high up there in the point standings. He could have an excellent season by the time it's over.
Of course, there's a couple of Jarrett boys racing these days.
That's right. Glenn has tried his hand in sportsman racing. He was racing a Ford, the number 24 car, for a long, long time. He's not doing it right now at this particular point, but he has had his turns in sportsman racing just like Dale has.
Well, I saw Glenn earlier today. He told me this is the first race he's missed at Charlotte in 7 years.
7 years. I wasn't aware of that. I'm sure he would like to be out there.
Bobby Allison giving chase to Dale Jarrett.
And that's all he's doing right now is chasing.
And Tim Richmond has got quite a lead. But we've got a couple of experienced sportsman drivers. That's Jack Ingram and L.D. Ottinger.
Right there, you're talking about a combined 5 national championships between those two gentlemen who've been around since Ben-Hur, I guess. It's a wealth of experience right there.
Since Marconi Central Spark. L.D. Ottinger chasing. And look, L.D. going low against Ingram. This is quite a race.
He's got the line he wants, low to the inside. If he's got the power, we'll see that he might be able to get by him in the third turn because he can drive it in there. Yep,
oh, my. He's got the handling in turn 3 to stay low and stick to that racetrack.
That's exactly what you want. If you can do that lap after lap, like Mr. Richmond is showing us right now, you'll have no problem.
L.D. Ottinger making up a tremendous amount of ground.
He certainly is. He's putting on a pretty good chase, and he's right on the verge of catching Mr. Bonnet, who just went out of your picture there.
That's got to be the chassis and tire combination. He's got to have the handling out there in the turns.
They talk about combination so much in racing, it sounds like a silly term, but in fact, that's what it is. It is the combination of the engine power and of the chassis, of the handling characteristics of the car. You have both of them right and clicking, you're going to be very, very strong. If one is a little bit off, you're going to have that much of a problem. And if the other guy is better than you, he'll show it quickly.
I think LD's got the strongest car on the racetrack right now. He is right up on the tail of Joe Ruttman, goes outside, and is chasing Neil Bonnet. Meanwhile, Tim Richmond is passing the number 18 car of Jeff Berry from Kingsport, Tennessee.
And he did just what LD did a little while ago. You saw that line to the inside, dives it deep. There it is on the low portion of the track in the third and fourth turns. He'll come out right up against that wall going into the front dog leg right there. Right there's the line, and come straight on through low in the middle of the straightaway.
And try to cut across that corner. Meanwhile, Neil Bonnet has got company behind him.
It's LD closing the gap. You may be right. He may have the strongest car on the track right now.
Well, Joe Ruttman is coming into the pits for another unscheduled pit under the green. We've got more coming your way from the Winn-Dixie 300 in Charlotte after this. Motor Speedway for the Winn-Dixie 300. Tim Richmond leading Neil Bonnet and L.D. Ottinger. Jack Ingram in 4th and Brett Bodine in 5th position.
Here comes L.D. around Neil Bonnet now to take over that second place.
And L.D. Ottinger has grabbed second place trying to gun down Tim Richmond. He has gone ahead of the veteran Neil Bonnet.
He's got a ways to go here, but he's got himself in a position he wants to be in, which is in a position to run down Tim Richmond if he can.
Not an easy chore, as Richmond has dominated most of this race.
No, I don't know that at this pace, unless we get some sort of a break after the oncoming pit stops, that LD will have any chance at all.
And LD is holding his line. Oh, there is trouble in turn 2. Joe Ruttman, who has had, he's had a spin early on. Looks like maybe his motor may have gone this time.
Okay, now this is the kind of thing LD was looking for. This will put him right up behind Tim Richmond. If, in fact, he does pit. We'll see what happens here.
Well, we've got the leaders slowing down and heading for the pits. The yellow flag is out at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
That's right, they're coming in.
And there's your leader, car 15, Tim Richmond of Pontiac, heading for the pits. Let's see exactly what his crew has decided he'll get. Probably outside rubber, wouldn't you
I would
expect?
say so, yes, sir. That's probably the usual procedure.
All right, you see the clock on this pit stop. Richmond and Brett Bodine just behind him. You see the nose of that car.
Brett out
He's
of
getting
position
some
a little
attention.
bit.
A little out of position.
Right.
Bobby Allison just came through your screen going to the pits. They've got him on the jack stand, and that one air wrench rule again slows things down.
Exactly, you can see it, and it was not, as I said earlier, the rule was done for the sake of economy, not just to slow everybody down.
Richmond going right back out and assuming the lead once again.
I'd say he's out front, and the experience of the crew helps, and that's exactly the combination that we were talking about earlier. You've got the car, driver, and crew combination.
117 laps gone in this race. We've got more of the Winn-Dixie 300 after this. Paul Cameron along with Steve Wade, the editor of Grand National Scene magazine. 121 laps to complete, 200 to run. We're over the halfway point, and on the restart, Tim Richmond has the lead, but L.D. Ottinger, on account of the last yellow flag, is now moved up in the field, and he is running in the third position.
Let's see what L.D. can do now, because he was running very strong prior to that caution period, and it'll be interesting to see if Tim can pull away as he has throughout the competition.
Jack Ingram second, Jimmy Hensley in the 00 car third, or rather that's fourth place, and of course 00 used to belong to Sam Ard, but Ard is crew chiefing on Charlie Luck's car. Charlie is out of luck and out of this race.
Jimmy Hensley has not been heard from much today, but he has had an exceptionally good year in the Thomas Brothers car, replacing Sam Ard.
He's had 2 victories, one at South Boston and one at Hickory Speedway.
Exactly. Done very well for the team this year. Is in the running for the national championship.
Tim Richmond hoping to open a lead again.
And he's doing it.
He's doing exactly that. There's the number 10 car, the red one. L.D. Ottinger running down number 11 of Jack Ingram.
All right, that's what he has to do. He got around Bonnet a while earlier before the caution without too much difficulty. Let's see if he can do it again here and put himself in position to run down Richmond. So far, there's been good battles for second place, but no one's been able to challenge Richmond at all.
I'm not so sure, Steve, that he's got the handling he did before the last pit stop.
I don't know that he does either. I will just have to see. We can tell by the way that he runs with Ingram. If Ingram steadily pulls away, then I'm sure that L.D. doesn't have it the way he would like it.
Well, he looked a little loose in the last corner coming around some lap traffic. Tim Richmond in the lead. And Richmond is having no problems whatsoever. Not motor problems, not handling problems, not tire problems. He has got everything in combination working well.
There's teammate Brett Bodine still very much in this competition. He's holding off Neil Bonnet right there.
And Brett Bodine, Neil Bonnet chasing in some slower traffic, trying to get around Jimmy Hensley.
It's like he's trying the outside route now. See if he darts in behind Jimmy and goes to the inside as they come. Whoa!
Mike Swaim, car 89. Swaim has spun off the racetrack.
Tough break for Mike. He's a newcomer to sportsman racing, but he won the Daytona Dash race earlier this week here at Charlotte and is a past Daytona Dash champion.
Now with the yellow flag out, the leaders are coming in. Neil Bonnet will stop. Will he get rubber? Looks like they're going for the inside rubber only. The Winn-Dixie 300 from Charlotte Motor Speedway. We'll be back with more after this. So again in Charlotte, and the 300, another spill out in turn 3. That's the Jack Ingram car, number 11, turning around as he looks like he has hit a slick spot on the track.
But Jack's got it under control, brings it to a halt right down there on the apron, and a little meeting there with another fella down there in the third, but he's all right.
Getting directions to the closest way back to the garage. All right, here comes the leader. Tim Richmond, Harry Hyde. You see with the sign, he's going to get a quick stop as possible.
Going to make the car as adequately handling as possible, get everything set up to go for another long stretch run. Looks like they've had no problems so far, so I wouldn't anticipate any here if everything has worked out well.
And you know what? L.D. Ottinger has not come in for the pits. He stayed out on the track.
Interesting. I think L.D. might be pleased with the way his car is set up at this point in time and say to himself, hey, why make a change? I don't think we can make it any better. Let's see what happens. 15+
seconds on the pit stop for Richmond. You see 5 lead changes in 135 laps, 6 caution flags. That is a record, and the speed's been slowed to 113.4 miles per hour.
Okay, here now we've got L.D. in the lead, and Richmond, who has been storming the field all day, is well back in the pack. He's got a lot of ground to make up here and a lot of good cars in front of him.
Some of those cars in front of Bobby Allison, who's leading the 00 car of Jimmy Hensley. But L.D. Ottinger has widened his gap. staying out after the pit stop. The question now is, Steve Wade, will his tires hold up? Will his gas hold up? Does he have enough to go the distance?
I think on gas he has enough. We're talking about 65 laps, maybe 97 miles, something like that. So he shouldn't have a problem on gas. Tires are the problem. That's the critical situation right now. Without another caution, he's going to have to run on that same set, and it could prove to be a big difference at the end of the race.
That's Richmond moving up a spot. Neil Bonnet tries the inside of Jimmy Hensley.
Looks like he's got the position. There's Allison in front of Hensley, so Neil should have plenty of room on the inside, and he does, and Rick Mast goes with it.
And the gap is now narrowing. Ottinger's lead is not as great as it once was, and here comes Richmond still making up ground. Tires are an extreme factor at Charlotte Motor Speedway, as they are on any super speedway track. But on a day like this with temperatures just under 80 degrees, that's got to help the tire wear, and certainly the amount of the tires can stick to the track.
Exactly. You don't have as much heat. Heat means wear on a tire, and with this weather being, as you say, what it is.
Relatively cool.
Right. It's not as punishing.
Tim Richmond moved up to 6th position. But he's got a long way to go to catch L.D. Ottinger.
He's caught Rick Mast, it looks like, on the inside, coming out of the 4th turn right there. He's got the position.
And got some help from Brett Bodine, his teammate. You see, they're lined up 1-2. They're low, they've got the handling, and they're going by Mast.
Well, I know Robert G. and Harry Hyde are a couple of happy men right now. Those cars are dialed in.
Dialed in and fine-tuned at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
All right, they've got a line now on the car of Jimmy Hensley. And if things go according to the way their plan is, well, they've caught the pack already. Look at this, Paul.
Oh, my, what a freight train down the backstretch at Charlotte. L.D. Ottinger in the lead.
Tim is moving to the inside now of Jimmy Hensley. Coming out of that 4th turn to the outside.
Neil Bonnet chasing Bobby Allison. Neil Bonnet goes to the inside of Allison. There's Richmond. Richmond wants the same thing. Is there room? No, not that time.
Not that time at all. That allowed Allison to pad his lead up front a little bit.
And there's Ottinger. He is, well, he seems to have widened the gap at this point.
Well, that'll happen when cars start to dicing behind you and trying for position.
Richmond gets Allison. Here comes Brett Bodine. No, Allison shuts the door.
Now, Mr. Richmond is now in, what, 3rd place? Am I correct?
3rd place. He's gone from 6th to 3rd in a wink of an eye.
How about that?
Just a matter of 2 laps. All right, Richmond. Brett Bodine goes outside of Bobby Allison.
Outside coming through there. I would not have expected that, but it looks like Richmond does have the handle. I would say that unless Mr. Ottinger gets a badly needed caution for a pit stop, he's going to be in a bit of a problem here.
And Richmond definitely has the fastest car on the track right now. Richmond is right behind on the bumper of Neil Bonnet.
Now, Neil has been having some handling problems. You saw that pit stop where he changed left side rubber. That's not normal. That's not routine on pit stops here. Evidently, they're just trying to make the stagger correct, make all facets of the car handle well in this last stretch run here.
Neil Bonnet, and Tim Richmond has passed Neil Bonnet.
He's got him, and he's pulling away from him. And look, Brett Bodine on the outside again.
Teammates helping each other out. That draft, 2 cars running faster than one by itself.
2 of them together looks like they have a bead on L.D. Ottinger right now. It shouldn't be too much longer.
There goes Bonnet. Tim Richmond's disposed of 5 positions. He's now running 2nd to L.D. Ottinger. Richmond got the new tires, the fresh rubber in the pit stop, and they certainly have paid off. Brett Bodine running in 3rd. We're coming up on lap 150. 3/4 of this race gone. 50 more laps to go. Our leader is L.D. Ottinger, followed closely by Tim Richmond and Brett Bodine. We've got more of the Winn-Dixie 300 coming your way after this. So far in this Winn-Dixie 300 sportsman race, we have seen a dominating car in Tim Richmond, but L.D. Ottinger has stayed out under a pit stop condition, stayed out, and there goes Richmond trying to dice behind Ottinger. What a race we've got now.
And it looks like that Tim has the position he wants very easily, I might add. He gets around him in the 1st turn.
And here comes Neil Bonnet. Will Bonnet try to pass?
I would certainly think so. The ideal thing to do is to be out ahead and in a position to challenge for the lead, and if you can do it, do it.
And on Bonnet's bumper is Brett Bodine.
Having a good day today for starting that car. Very good day.
There goes Neil. Neil has taken over. Has surpassed L.D. Ottinger for 2nd place. Richmond has got 1st, and he's holding on tight.
All right, now what you've got is a pair of Grand National regulars, 1 and 2 on the field, both of whom have had tire changes on the last pit stop. Worth pointing out again that Neil had him on the left side, so maybe that'll help him in the handling characteristics as the race winds down.
We're down with 45 laps to go. in this Winn-Dixie 300 from Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Judging from the way things are looking right now, Tim is pulling away.
And he's got some fans, as we can tell, over 100,000 here today watching this sportsman race. A record crowd as Tim Richmond has now widened his lead over Neil Bonnet. L.D. Ottinger, third place. Brett Bodine in fourth, and Brett looks like he wants up Ottinger.
Going to make the move into third turn. If he can charge deep into that turn, he'll have it.
Now the nerves of steel in turn 3. Can he hold it?
No, he's not going to be able to do it. He got a slower car there. That's the Ford of Rodney Howard, and it's going to cut him off there.
Oh, look at, oh my, L.D. Ottinger just about lost it on the outside.
That has to be the tires wearing down on him.
Well, as we said, L.D. Ottinger's tires, he stayed out on the track, gambling that those tires would be good for the last 65 laps, and apparently they're starting to go away.
That seems to be the case. Right now, you've got two Grand National drivers up there, 1-2. Points out experience, that has to be a factor in this race, and it's showing at this particular time.
Well, experience is one thing, Steve, but certainly the mechanics under the hoods, the handling characteristics of both those cars, perhaps the experience of the pit crews of dialing in the cars for this track, that may be what we're seeing right now.
I certainly think so. Experience as a whole is the key here.
We've got the finish ahead on the Winn-Dixie 300 coming your way in just a few minutes. This Winn-Dixie 300 sportsman race winding down to the last few laps. Tim Richmond has got a commanding lead. His teammate, Brett Bodine, in car 5 with the yellow nose in second place, but Neil Bonnet is coming up in a hurry.
Well, unless things change in a hurry with Mr. Richmond, this is the race right here for second, third place. Looks like Bonnet is trying to make up ground here and try to go to the inside, but...
L.D. Ottinger got a little loose in fourth.
Those tires are wearing bad on
No
LD.
question, and L.D. is trying to keep it down and keep in contention, but you got to drive your heart out to keep it on the racetrack when the tires are going.
With his tires being the way they are, I doubt that he can stay up there with Bodine and Bonnet.
Brett Bodine leading Neil Bonnet. Bonnet wanting second place. The Grand National experience, as we talked about a moment ago, maybe coming to the surface.
Well, wouldn't car owner Rick Hendrick love to see a 1-2 finish here?
I know Rick Hendrick and Harry Hyde as well. Both would love to see the yellow paint in victory lane 1-2 sweep.
They're in a good position to get it here. If Mr. Bodine can hold off Mr. Bonnet for the remainder of the race, we'll have to wait and see.
And L.D. Ottinger continues to run in the fourth position. L.D. had some muscle, was leading Tim Richmond, but again, the tire, and there, Neil Bonnet sticks his nose to the inside.
Not quite enough. This is a terrific race for Brett Bodine, just really showing a lot of talent and a lot of learning ability. I think that in the future, we're going to see a lot from this young man.
And Steve, I don't think it matters if he wins or loses this race. The experience gained is going to be just invaluable for him. We're going to see him later on the Sportsman and perhaps in Grand National. I know that Harry Hyde maybe has some plans for young Bodine to run in the Grand National races in the later races.
He's certainly proven his capability today.
Meanwhile, Tim Richmond, your leader, your runaway leader, unless he has any mechanical failure, looks like it's going to be a Tim Richmond day.
Unless he's hearing the gremlins in the car right about now, it's still doing pretty good for him.
Neil Bonnet has passed Brett Bodine and is now trying to charge down L.D. Ottinger. Bonnet taking Ottinger, but Ottinger outside. Oh, they almost touch.
Close racing right here. The two of them managed to get around Brett Bodine, and they're really fighting hard for second place. I would not have thought that Ottinger would have had this much left in his tires.
Oh, what a race down the back chute.
Not giving an inch, either one of them, as they go into the third turn. Now, Bonnet has the line. He has the inside. Let's see what he can do with it.
Oh, Bonnet takes off. The handling there, you saw it going into turn 4, turn 3, and now into turn 4. But look at Ottinger. Ottinger coming right back to the inside. So it's Neil Bonnet leading L.D. Ottinger and Brett Bodine. That's your chase for second place because the lead car, Tim Richmond, is coming around to take the white flag lap. One more lap remaining, and it will be a Tim Richmond victory unless things break down, and they will not. Richmond goes across. Here he comes. Checkered flag. Tim Richmond the winner. Second place, Neil Bonnet. L.D. Ottinger third. Brett Bodine taking fourth place. So Tim Richmond, your winner in the Winn-Dixie 300, and Steve Wade, he had the muscle, he had the handling, he had the experience, an all-around good day for Timmy.
No question about it. This is probably as perfect a day as a race driver could want.
And Steve, it breaks a drought for Tim Richmond, who has been winless on the Grand National circuit this year.
Yes, he has. He's been winless since last year's Northwestern Bank 400 in North Wilkesboro in a race of any kind. So I'm sure he's tickled to death to have a victory. You were right when you were talking about perfection and how everything went well for Tim today. He probably had the combination in every way possible. And when that happens, you see the kind of domination in a race that we saw today. An absolutely perfect day. I don't think Tim will have anything more to say other than that. When he said adios earlier in the race, he meant it.
$20,700 first prize for Tim Richmond. Neil Bonnet takes home a little over $10,000, and L.D. Ottinger gets $11,700 for third. Rick Mast finishes in sixth, Larry Pearson seventh, Bobby Allison, Tommy Ellis, and Ken Bouchard your top 10. Today's presentation of the 1985 Winn-Dixie 300 has been brought to you by STP Corporation. On the world's racetracks, on the world's roads, depend on STP. By Coors. Stock up now on the cold, refreshing taste of Coors where you buy beer. Coors to you. By Skull Bandits. For tobacco pleasure without lighting up. It's the little pouch of tobacco pleasure. And by the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, makers of the high-performance radio, the Goodyear Eagle. For Speedway, this is Paul Cameron. Thanks for joining us today. The Winn-Dixie 300, an exclusive presentation of Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions.
Connor Homes, America's leader in mobile homes. And by Cisco, the tough guys. You're looking at one of the showplaces of stock car racing, the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It is a scorching hot October day, and we expect a hot race on the racetrack today. This could be the most competitive Busch Grand National race of the season. Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Hogwood. Working along with me today will be Jerry Punch. And, Jerry, when we get down to these final races of the year, we're talking about national championship, the points race. It's still anybody's game.
It really is, Mike. In fact, you know, the five-time national champion, Jack Ingram, seemed to have everything under control 3 weeks ago, and then tragedy struck. Ingram was placed on suspension. He was given a $5,000 fine by NASCAR for a driving incident up at Asheville Motor Speedway. He has missed 2 races. Now he is making his first start since the middle of September. He is now 85 points behind Larry Pearson and Brett Bodine, so it's anybody's race for the national title.
Well, when you talk about super speedways, the Busch Grand National regulars haven't done all that well.
Well, that's putting it mildly, Mike. You know, this year, all 7 super speedway races have been won by Winston Cup regulars. Earnhardt has won 3. Waltrip has won 2. Tim Richmond and Morgan Shepherd have won the other 2. So not since 1983, when Sam Ard won here at Charlotte, has a Busch Grand National regular won here at this speedway, and Ard has since retired.
All right, working along with us today down on pit road will be Rich Brenner. And Rich is going to tell us now a little bit more about what's going to be under the hood of these cars today.
There's a trend developing in stock car racing which would be very interesting to watch in today's race, and that is the move to the six-cylinder, the V6 engine. This is the direction U.S. automakers are headed, and if Detroit's going that way, well, you know that stock car racing is going to follow. Overall, 12 cars in our starting field today will have V6 engines, including pole sitter Dale Earnhardt and the fastest man in yesterday's final practice session, Tommy Houston, in car number 6. Six-cylinder cars are 100 pounds lighter than their eight-cylinder counterparts, 3,350 pounds for the 6s, 3,450 for the 8s. Now, as the race wears on and the racetrack gets hot and slick, the lighter cars should have the handling advantage. And remember that Charlotte is a handling racetrack.
And also working with us down on pit road today will be Glenn Jarrett, a former driver on this circuit. And Glenn, I know some friends of yours stand to make a lot of extra money today.
That's absolutely right, Mike. There is a $25,000 Born to Race challenge being paid to any Busch Grand National Series regular driver that can win today's race. Born to Race is a full-length feature film being made about Busch Grand National Racing, and a couple of months ago they posted a challenge to any driver that could win today's race that is a Busch Series regular. There are 6 drivers that are eligible for this $25,000 bonus. Those drivers are Brett Bodine, Larry Pearson, L.D. Ottinger, Jack Ingram, Tommy Houston, and my younger brother Dale Jarrett. Now, all these guys have to do is go out here and beat these Winston Cup regulars, come home first in today's race. They've earned themselves an extra $25,000. That bonus, coupled with the winner's purse, could well earn them over $60,000 for winning today's race. That's a pretty doggone good incentive for anybody to go out and run hard all day long, try to win this race. Should be very interesting to watch.
You're exactly right, Glenn Jarrett, and I know those Grand National stars want to do well in the All-Pro Auto Parts 300 today. They want to look good in front of the Winston Cup drivers. They'd like to be on that circuit someday. As I mentioned just a moment ago, it is a scorching hot day here in Charlotte. 85 degrees, well above normal for this time of year. It's much hotter than that down on the racetrack. 57% humidity. The winds are light and variable. Not much wind down there, believe me. Sunny and hot, the forecast today. It's going to be a test on these machines, a test